Howdy, folks. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Whims of the Creator, a little program where I talk to people in the What Schwartz custom card community about their projects. Here today with Schwartz
Hello.
and Spyro
Hi.
from the Discord community to talk about my first custom project. Figured if anyone's work should be the guinea pig for this, it should probably be mine. The first set of my Arknights custom series, because there's way more to come, was mostly a copy-paste job, and over the past year or so, I've gone back and tinkered with things as I've learned more about Weiss and gotten advice from folks who've seen the set in the past. What we're looking at today is the version of the set I played on stream a week or two back. I've made some pretty substantial changes in the set file since then, but I figured we'd go over this version because I haven't finalized those versions yet. They're not coded in to my simulator copy or anything yet. So if y'all watching at home have suggestions for improvements to the set as it's presented here, feel free to let me know in the comments sections of these videos because engagement is good for the algorithm. Alright, that's enough about B. Schwartz, how you doing tonight?
Good.
Cool. You want to give us a little bit about yourself while you're here?
Yeah, so I honestly don't know much about competitive Weiss, despite being another customs creator, actually. Just here because of Arknights, which is also my current set project right now, but it's entirely different from this. So yeah.
Yeah, his take is taking a lot more directly from the game's like mechanics. Mine definitely is coming from my own experience with the property, which I'll talk about in a little bit when I give a summary on what Arknights actually is. So he's here, give a plus or minus rubber stamp on flavor things. As far as actually the mechanical balance of the set goes, Sparrow, how you doing?
I'm okay. Basically, what I'm here for is to judge how good the cards are, and also if they are balanced properly. Because all of the effects, even though they might not seem like it, they have a way that they decide how much power everything has.
Arknights is different from a lot of your other trading card games where there is behind the scenes and pretty clearly in the card balance like formulas that they follow through, and for the most part I've followed through on those formulas. There's a few places I didn't, and those are the places where Spyro gets to tear me a new one. But all in all, he's here as our like expert as far as Weiss things go. And as for me, beyond being the host, I'm gonna talk about why I did some things, why the me from 2022-23 should have gotten his ass kicked just a little bit for some of his decisions. So where Spyro's actually going to be giving a letter grade, I'm just going to kind of give my plus minus. So with that, I appreciate you guys for being here on this inaugural episode. And let's get into what Arknights is. So for like a very general overview, it's a gacha game by the same people who made Girls Frontline, specifically kind of like an offshoot group. The reason that I made this set is that this game became very important to me during the dark times of the lockdowns and whatnot, to the point where I actually started doing like fanfic writing for people. I had like a request blog on Tumblr. And because of that, I got really attached to several of the characters, fairly attached to the property as a whole, and also, I definitely treated this more like an opportunity to show off people's cool fan art rather than taking like screen caps from the game, which is probably the more like typical Bushi Road version of the set, probably what they would have done. As for the set breakdown, I did go ahead and create a fancy little chart to list all this stuff. So rather than having separate slides for like the climaxes after the colors, like our predecessor, Pyro's Custom Corner, I figured we just show that up front. There's also the other little quirk. This set doesn't have a trial deck. Originally, when I was starting Arknights as a project, it was 4 trial decks, and all of them taking vastly incorrect cues on how to balance a trial deck. One of them was literally the meta Nino quintuplets deck thrown into the set. So I had to tone back a bunch of cards and all that to make it actual proper set of cards. And I think I think I've figured out how to do that for the most part. Any thoughts on the actual climax lineup before we get into the card by card?
It seems fine. Yeah, I like that it has some diversity because I really hated the three choice, three pants, three bar, and some mix of door and standby that they do in modern sets.
Yeah, I remember going through the Hololive trial decks and seeing like only one of them actually had stock souls, and it was
Yeah.
double stock soul deck, and then everything else was bar choice. All the good ones, quote unquote.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into set proper, starting with yellow, and our first card in that. This is Maria Neural doing some light reading. So she is level 0 on placement of her yellow 2 soul, or stock soul. If you have another Rhodes Islander operator character, put the top card of your deck into your waiting room. Choose up to one level X or lower Rhodes Islander operator character in your waiting room. Return it to your hand. X is equal to the level of that card. And then she is a Salvage Brainstorm on top of that.
It's only the first card, but already looks sus.
Yeah. She is seeing some shit on this laptop. Not gonna lie, like I feel like she might have found his like the doctor's like homework folder in his browsing or something. Or maybe she's just really that excited about invading his personal space. It's definitely not the most in flavor for her. That's for sure.
Sus.
Amogus. But how about the actual profile itself?
Well, it's just the Elizabeth combo from Seven Deadly Sins. So people might say that that's broken, but I don't think it's inherently broken. It's more of just what cell you have around it. So I'm gonna give it like just it's a strong A, I think, by itself. But I know that you gave a second combo on the same climax, so that makes it a lot more questionable.
Yeah,
But yeah, individually it's a good combo, but not broken.
yeah. So I played with this a bit. Of the two major decks that I made for myself with this. This paired with the level 3 choice combo is definitely one of the standouts. You touched on the major issue with it as a design, which is that it's not the only thing on this 2 soul. If it was, even if it was, it would still be like fantastic. Speaking of that other combo, though, let's just move into that. This is Maria Neural, the Moon Catastroborn. This is her like Halloween skin, I want to say. During your turn, if all of your other characters are Rhodes Islander Operator, these are standard traits. This card gets 2,000 power, and when this card's battle opponent becomes reverse, if the 2 soul is in your climax area, look up the 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose a Rhodes Islander Operator character from them, reveal it to your opponent, put it to your hand, put the rest in your waiting room, and then choose one of your characters, and that character gets 2,000 power until end of turn. Torts, is this a better representation of Maria in your opinion?
Yeah, she's wearing that honestly cool skin.
I do like this skin. It's weird for her to play the bad guy, as the flavor text calls out, but she definitely looks good doing it. Spyro, how's the off combo for this?
Well, okay. Okay, to be fair, because I remember this is a pretty bad second combo, quote unquote, because it's okay, the combo is standard. It's on reverse offset for give 2000, but the fact that it's on a climax that doesn't give power makes it very weak individually, which in a way balances it out that it's on the same climax as another combo. But I just think the design space here is a bit dangerous because usually when you have two combos in the same climax, they either complement each other in some way, or they are not just two combos that you can play both at once and they work perfectly fine. They either work together in some way, or one of them does something minor, or you have to mix and match them. So individually, I say this is a D because the combo it is doesn't combine very well with the climax it is, but the combination might be problematic, although it is theoretically a little more balanced because of this card's shortcomings.
Yeah, so in actual play, this turns out fine. 6.5 in a meta where a lot of the advantage combos are big on turn, small off turn. You know, like if this going into like
I mean, yeah.
like a lot of decks, it's fine. 6.5 is fine, and getting it
Yeah,
to
I mean,
8.5 in another line is good. But
against your average Weiss deck, this is probably fine, but usually the meta decks tend to break that mold. They tend to be the ones that can get giant defensive walls on top of everything else. So that's where this can potentially be a problem, managing to resolve it.
yeah, like Chainsaw Man right now
Yeah,
with his
like
Tishibe wall,
man,
the
yes, like
Hollow Standby.
the,
It's got
the
issues.
plethora of standby decks throughout the years. Like there's a lot of stuff, but yeah, it is what it is.
The real reason I'm giving this a minus is because I've already gone and figured out an alternative to this profile. Because yeah, it just this is a recurring problem for this set is the multiple cards on a single combo. There's at least one case where that's intended use of the card, which we'll get into in green. But for the rest of them, it's just like, yeah, two cards comboing, unrelated, which is just not a good call. So yeah, doing a different
I
thing with
sent
this.
the actual skin for comparison in VC.
Yeah, I will go ahead and show this just because it is majestic. Yeah, if the artist I had gotten this picture from had included that background, oh man, we'd probably be having a very different discussion because I don't think I would have put the strike air combo on this. Next card we have here is Platinum, hoping for excitement. If all of your characters are the standard trait combo, this card gets 1500 power and hexproof. Cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. When this card is put on the stage from your hand, she's a draw 2 pitch 1, so nice little cantrip. When her wind climax is placed on the climax area, this card gets 2 abilities. When this card's battle opponent is reversed, not V, you may put that character in your opponent's clock, or when she direct attacks, you can pitch 1 to deal 2 damage to your opponent.
Is this the platinum in the Neon Light animation?
I actually don't. I could not tell you where the image actually is from. I know that it was done by the artist I put down there, but I don't know. Pretty sure.
Because if it's related to that, then it's actually on flavor. For me, I'm just gonna say it is inspired by that.
I mean, I definitely see it as like a good representation of her actual like game mechanics with her talent being like a boost for hitting targets further at a range. But if it is specifically from like the event, then oh yeah, that would really double up on that for sure. Spyro, what about the actual card text on it?
Okay, before talk about that, I want to say that even as someone who doesn't know the property, like I think this is a really cool combo to give on an archer character because if you think about it, it's basically as if you're shooting your arrow and either there's a character in front of it that blocks the arrow but gets it gets sent to block because of blocking the arrow, or there is no one in front of you, so the arrow goes straight to the opponent and damages them. So I just think that's just a really good flavor in general for anything that has a bow and arrow. Now the combo itself is it's a combo we've seen before. This is the Green Amelia from Frozen Bond. It's a decent combo. What I like here is that you have it on a wind, so that potentially creates really fun situations where you trigger the wind and clear the lane in order to go for the direct attack effect. So that's pretty fun. Other than that, it's a perfectly fine finisher. I don't think there's anything broken about it. Maybe you can argue it doesn't need to be hexproof, especially because it has direct attacking as one of its components, so it might, but it's not that big of a deal. Like I think this is a solid finisher. It's nothing broken, but it gets the job done. It's very fun in terms of its design. Don't have anything bad to say. Like this is very fun.
If the original draft of this card was here, Spyro would probably be tearing me out entirely, because the original version of this was Escanor on Wind with the hexproof instead of the heal, which is like, what?
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, it's so random. Okay, no, it's not only like Escanor, but with even more chance to be even more insane
Yep.
sometimes. But it's also weird because this combo, the Emilia combo, is so perfect for an archer character that it sounds crazy to me that it wasn't the first choice.
Well, yeah, people weren't playing ReZero in my locals. People were playing Escanor, there was Mushoku Tensei, there was
Yeah,
Hololive, and this was very much a product of, and Dragon Maid. Dragon Maid is also pretty important to the set, as we'll get into with other cards. But, like, this was very much a product of, like, baby Weiss man getting into the game and being like, oh, I want to play this card, I want to play that card. What other cards exist in English Weiss? Because I didn't want to go crawling through Japanese databases I didn't understand. Yeah, it's definitely a good thing that we fixed it and found like this, which is just, that's why I'm giving this the plus. This is like, I wouldn't say it's the most improved card of the set, but it's definitely a major contender. I have another picture. Another picture from the shorts. This is the scene from the animation he was referring to. That very well could have been the thing that the artist was going for. Actually, you're 100% right.
Especially the climax art.
Well, from one horse to another horse. Let's talk about this early play here. This is Maria, aka Blemishine. That's her code name, basically. If you have 4 or more trait, this card gets -1 level on your hand. If you have 2 or more trait characters, she gets 1k. And then on play, she's a Resonate for the choice level 3 finisher to get your level 3 effect, basically. And you have the choice of deal 1 damage or simple heal.
She's like a healing tank, but she also has offense as well, so that's a point on flavor.
Spyro, what about the actual profile?
well, this is the Dragon Maid. Dragon Maid has the exact same card, and in that set, it kind of failed. I don't know, but the Resonate package in that set was a failure in general. And this profile specifically, the big problem it has is that if you don't have the Resonate target, you don't get to even just be a normal early play healer. You have to get the target just to be a normal healer that potentially has a different option that you may or may not use. And if you don't have it, you just have a dead card. So that's pretty. It's not that great. I think that definitely puts it below your average early play healer. Which, if we say that an average card is a C, I would put it a C minus. But to be fair, because now I've seen the target this resonates with is a finisher that you are trying to add to your hand throughout the game anyway. So it's potentially a lot less problematic than how it works in Dragon Maid, where you need an extra copy of your brainstorm in your hand that will literally do nothing. So I think for as clunky as this profile is, I think changing the target to a finisher definitely improves it for what it is.
Yeah, coming from the Hololive set to Resonate package, not that that was even like a thing in JP when I was actually designing this, but after having played a lot of that and then playing this for a while, the fact that it's the finisher is your actual Resonate target just it helps a lot. And this set actually takes advantage of some of those more modern or Resonate setups. The fact that this is Maria setting up her sister is super true to the actual Arknights story. There is a event series that started with Maria, the younger sister, kind of trying to like prove herself in this sort of arena environment and doing really well for the most part, but kind of floundering towards the end as she's a kind of given challenges that are completely out of her league. and also as she's kind of growing better understanding of the whole system of Kazimier's society that she's a part of, and how it kind of sucks in some major ways that she was pretty ignorant to. And then her sister comes in and saves the day, and then the whole sequel event is about her sister being awesome and her kind of taking more of a support role. So the fact that she's the early game climax combo and then her sister ends up as the actual finisher, super on point for me. Yeah, if it maybe could have been something more like the Hurricane Children, maybe you could have the resonate as like part of a cost to get a heal and damage instead of one or the other, and then maybe you kind of tweak the whole thing. But as it is, I'm perfectly fine with it. With that, let's actually talk about the resonate target itself. This is Margaret Neural as her Radiant Self. When this card is placed on the stage in your hand, heal, and when she attacks, if her choice is in your climax area and you have another character, choose one of the following: either deal 1 or pay 2 pitch a character, trade character, to declare a number and deal that much damage to your opponent. Note, it cannot be negative. You cannot heal your opponent with this. This was important enough for Bushiroad to put in the actual reminder text. Schwartz, does this combo feel worthy of the Radiant Knight in her 6-star glory?
Yes.
God, I love this outfit so much.
You okay?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. Mostly. But yeah, just like, God, just look at her and she's got like the stars behind her and, so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
drip.
Yeah, for real. Just like, then she has like a skin that just makes it even better, which I didn't think was possible until they released the skin, and I was like, oh, this is one of those higher cost skins, huh? Sold. Simping for horse girls aside, Sparrow, how does this feel?
I mean,
In your opinion?
it's pretty good. Yeah, this is pretty much the platonic ideal of a simple ideal damage combo, because you literally just get to choose how much it is. But it's not that broken, because the correct answer is usually 2 or 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, I know that on stream, Hades got me with like a 5. Like it was like he got me. He declared the exact number and it dealt the exact number. It's like, all right, yeah, that's why we're here, baby. To get killed by a horsewoman. Yeah, playing with this and against this card, it really does feel just like an idyllic representation of her actual skill. This isn't her original game stats. She got an alter. She goes from like a healer tank character to just a all out, put her on the field. She blows up a bunch of guys, and then pull her back, and then she'll be ready to like drop somewhere else later, more quickly. And she literally just summons the sun, just like this baby like sun as one of her skills, which is if that doesn't deal like 5 damage to you, I don't know what you're expecting to deal 5 damage to you. It's the power pack taste of the sun. But yeah, I love this card. I didn't think going into this because I was just cribbing off the Dragon Maid combo. I was like, this seems fine. And it's like, oh no, this actually feels like good. God, I love this outfit. All right. Speaking of outfits, our next card. Oi. Our next card is her in a different outfit. This is Margaret Norrell on the Coral Coast. She is on play. Choose a card in your level, choose a card in your waiting room, exchange them. Any card, no restrictions on either target. And she is also a climax swap. Schwartz, what's your opinion on the swimsuit skin? Scale of 1 to 10.
Swimsuit skin for me it's alright. At least for me personally.
I'd hesitate to say this art doesn't do it justice, but it honestly kind of doesn't because it doesn't have like the lawn chair she's like lying on in it. So maybe could have been a little bit more on point. And then what about the abilities that she has, Sparrow?
They're fine. It's just a climax swap with an extra effect. It's not an effect we haven't seen before in a climax swap either. Okay, what's basically something you have to realize about your climax swap of the set if it has only one, because sometimes they randomly have 5, like Chainsaw Man. The second effect of your climax swap sometimes defines the set in a weird way. Not that it's the best part or anything, but because everyone will be running a climax swap no matter what the second effect is sort of defines what you can expect of that set. Like for example, in Avatar, you can always expect that they have the ability to shuffle back things that they want back in the deck, because that's what the second effect of Momo is. You know, and you can apply this logic to a lot of other climax swaps. When you see an effect like this basically tells me if your deck plays experience conditions or whatever, you're gonna probably fulfill them because you just have this on hand because you were going to play climax swap anyway. And other than that, this also has a very funny interaction you can potentially do where you can level a climax on purpose so that you can get it with this later without having to worry about it getting back in your deck from a refresh. But I don't know, that's you're living very dangerously if you're going for that. But it's something that you can potentially do. But the card itself is like C plus because it's the second pack isn't absolutely insane, like with it's just a nice little extra effect.
Yeah, this is one of those sets that has just a bunch of climax swaps. I definitely took my cue from Hololive on that, where it's just like every archetype or two should just get one, and it's fine. That's not how you build most sets, but this is kind of the only. Actually, there isn't an experience archetype in set one. We get one in some later sets, but for now, it's this way because the original version of a different card needed a specific name in level, and it was like, well, we use this to set that up. For actual like later use, this card is very good, and for some like fun shuffling you can do, also very nice. But if I was run back to like the start of this set, I maybe think about giving it a different effect. I like leaving it the way it is, especially because this utility does come in handy in the future. But for just set one, it's
Something else I remembered about this: having this as your climax swap profile. I mean, you should have others, but because we're talking about the idea of the climax swap defining the set, having this as your climax swap also sort of implies that your set will have a much easier time splicing other colors. If you fail to get the color you need, you can just change it in a pinch with this because you were running it anyway. You were going to run it anyway, even if you don't have experience stuff. So yeah, that's another thing.
that is definitely a plus for this card because this is a set that I definitely built in like single color lanes, but the splashability is actually super useful. All right, moving on ahead. Still talking about Neural Sister cards. This is Maria Neural, being Radiant. During your turn, all of your other copies of the level 3 finisher get 1500 in hexproof. The yellow loves hexproof. This is also the classic Resonate Brainstorm replacement, which is Resonate, in this case, her sister finisher, uh, rest this, pay 1 to check 3 for a created character and add it to your hand.
I don't have much to say about this one, apart from she supports this stuff.
Yeah, it is really as simple as that. The actual combination of effects. This is a card that exists, but how do you feel about it, Spyro? I know that you and Hexproof have a complicated relationship when it's this easy.
Well, I think it's fine. I don't have an issue with hexproof when it's limited like this. I mainly have a problem when you apply it to a huge group for free, quote unquote, or when it's on a back row character where there is almost nothing you can do about it. But this is like very specifically, I support one character, so it's fine, and it's only on your turn, so it's basically more so to protect the actual finisher. I mean, that's the main part you'd care about, but I'm fine with that. My issues with Hexproof are usually how it limits the very, like, this game already has very little opportunities for your opponent to interact with you, and they're usually considered bad compared to just doing your own thing. So I'm just not a fan when we make hexproof so easy to obtain that it even shuts down those few cases where that interaction part actually comes in. But the card itself is fine. Like, it has that sort of support defense effect, and it has a very standard sort of resonate effect where it's basically a better brainstorm in exchange for having to resonate. So yeah, that's perfectly fine, but it's very much limited to being in this specific package. So yeah, I'd say like it's a B because like it's very strong, but only for this specific deck that would run this finisher.
B for pseudo brainstorm, for sure.
Yeah.
As for the, I mean, this is the SAO 10th anniversary Asana. This is literally that profile. And I'm pretty sure Past Me picked this up when SAO 10th came out because it was a yellow Resonate card that looked really good. And they, whatever the original profile was, it was probably just kind of eh. So I was like, we'll give that instead. Also, this plays into, like, again, the Dragon Maid Resonate package just did not have this kind of card quality. And like building my own, I was like, I definitely don't want to make that same mistake. And comparing what we have in this set to what's in Hololive, with the set 2, the Laplace whole thing, this is a lot more condensed. There aren't that many other actual Resonate cards in this set. It's kind of this, and the early play, the level 3 is just like a set, which probably makes it a lot easier to put in a deck than something like the Lapras one, which like can start eating into a lot of your slots in exchange for setting up a third or fourth place in the Hololive tier list deck, because 8 doors. I love 8 door.
The Laplace deck is a bit of a stranger case because it's one of the few times where it's the quality of the resonate cards is so good that it's actually worth using the target just as a brick, which I don't think that has ever happened in the past, to my knowledge. Like, usually you have to actually want to play the card. Like, the resonate cards would never be like as good as they were collectively in the whole life set. The only other one I can think of is in Tokyo Avengers, where they had an Azusa that needed to resonate, and it was like a trial deck combo that was fine, but they mainly played it to resonate with it.
Huh.
But yeah, that was like a singular card, which maybe you can justify a little better. And also, Tokyo Avengers has like insane early game punch myself to flash,
Yeah.
so it was pretty easy to grab a target immediately. So that's a more special case. But I think other than that, it was always like you have to actually care about the resonate target in order to then consider all of the resonate stuff. But then in Hololive, it's like the resonate cards are so good that you don't care and you just play the target for just to be the target.
It's funny how that's actually lore accurate too. It fits so well. God.
Yeah, it's like Laplace is just like it's just the face of the society or whatever. But it's not actually doing anything.
Oh,
I guess
right,
yeah,
yeah,
because that's pretty flavorful.
the face of the society. I heard, for some reason my brain went face of society and was just imagining her as like Joaquin Phoenix for a minute. Anyway, strange visions of impossible futures aside.
Again, have an edit of like Laplace with Joker makeup.
Oh god, don't get on that, comments. We don't worry about it. It's fine.
This is the society we live in.
Oh god. Nope, I don't need to see that. What I do need to see is the next card in this presentation. Alright, so Alright. So we have Platinum overburdened. Look at all those papers she's carrying. And she is the Escanor at the tavern. She is a 2K with what people may know better as the Aqua Rookie effect. But on death, pay 1, clock a traded character from your waiting room, bottom clock specifically, in order to look up the 2 cards from the top of your deck, add any traded characters from among them, and throw the rest away. Schwartz, does this accurately reflect the overworked experience that this horse girl has?
For this side of Platinum, I honestly don't know that much. But the effects match that? Question mark?
Yeah, this was I think specifically if it's not her actual like character bio dialogue, which there's a decent chance it is that. The other option is that it was her event storyline quotes, where she's kind of complaining about the fact that she's kind of the not really like not like bottom of the rung, but like the lowest in like the elite set, and always being made to do like kind of the dirty work compared to what they have the rest of them doing.
I'll give it a plus.
All right, and then as for the actual effect, we have Aqua Ricky and we have the Escanor combo, which used this as like ammunition. But now that it's not Escanor,
I think this effect is really good already, like as a vanilla profile. And I don't think it needs anything else. Like when you start putting more things on it, I think it gets to broken territory. Yeah, where it's really hard for anything to compete at that point. But when it's just vanilla like this, I think it's perfectly fine, even without being part of any packages or whatever. Because it's just like a very good effect, turn one, like no matter how you look at it. And it's funny because we've had this effect in the past, but it was always on play, and that never saw play. And then the on death effect is extremely good just because of the timing. Which I know, like I remember that it used to be like a hot take that on death is better, but I think this profile proved like the people who thought that they had a point, at least for this specific case. But yeah, that's that. I think it's perfectly fine as a vanilla profile. It's strong, but it can actually potentially compete with something else that has more utility or more power or whatever.
totally fair. I know that if this was on play instead of on death, I would probably actually play it more often. So as like a player who's played a bunch of Hololive, and looking at where things have kind of headed, definitely not a fan of the fact that Bushiroad just keeps pushing this profile in multiple copies in Hololive's direction. Not just from like a color perspective, but like this game is steadily getting more hostile to on reverse and on death effects, and is providing more like easy to splash in bombs to get around them. And also because this isn't actually ammunition for like an Escanor or something, I don't think it necessarily deserves the rare spot that it has. Maybe it moves down to
I
uncommon
think
and
it. I
something
think
else.
it does. Honestly, yeah, I think feels very strong to resolve no matter what. Like I think the counterplay is just part of the natural cycle of Weiss, I guess. At least in my opinion. Like if you're going to try to resolve something like this that goes +2, you should be risking for it to get removed, and you should also be risking the fact that you're not playing something with more utility or more power. So I think this is perfectly fine where it is.
Fair enough.
Just personally, I don't know. Maybe it could be an uncommon. I don't know. I think this is perfectly good where it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. Like recently, they put bomb effects on like stuff you want to run a lot of, which definitely complicates things. But that's more of a set by set thing. It's more about okay, because a lot of the counterplay in Wise and how decks end up being what set is stronger than another set ends up coming down to stuff like that, like what random utility effects my core cards have that happen to deal well with all of the meta cards, because everyone can like play a few tech cards, but if your set has the good tech card of the format built into one of the cards it would be playing anyway, that's how it gets to be like a strong contender. I think that's just a natural sort of cycle. We just happen to have like a lot of sets that are meta recently that happen to have like good bombs that are part of the cards that would play anyway. So that ends up hurting profiles like this. But I don't think that's anything new or anything worth sort of changing the evaluation of this card over.
Fair enough. I can see it. What I can also see is the next card. This is Closure, Rhode Island's Engineering Head. During your turn, she gets 500 for each of your other traded characters. And when she attacks, if her choice is in the climax area, you have another traded character. Look at up to 2 cards from the top of your deck. Choose one from them to put in your stock, and put the other one either back on top of your deck or into your waiting room. Schwartz, how does this feel for the Engineering Head's main combo?
Lamp oil, rope, bombs. You want it? It's yours, my friend.
Sparrow, how do you feel about this combo as an actual main combo for your deck?
I don't know how good this would be as a main combo, but I really like what this combo wants to do. It's a very cute combo. Like you get to get your stock and you get to choose like, oh, I get to take this card that I don't need to put to stock, and then the other one can either go to waiting room if I also think it's just a filler card, or if I see a soul trigger and I want to swing for more damage, I leave it on top, or if it's a climax, I can put that on top and get additional blessing from that. I don't know, it's a very fun combo, but it's probably outclassed by most conventional stuff. Unless you have like a very specific package that takes advantage of the stock somehow, I guess. Or if you have a lot of effects compounding this sort of looking at your top cards playstyle. I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't think it does anything that's bad. It doesn't have any flaws or anything. I just don't think it probably underperforms compared to your typical combo. But it has some very fun mechanics, I guess.
Fair. I think choice is definitely the right trigger for this, and I wanted to have a choice just be a thing for the set. And even if there isn't a particularly stock expensive finisher or off finisher hanging out in the set, the
It's
combination
fine.
definitely does some work.
Honestly, I'm definitely on board with the idea of giving the strong triggers a worse quote unquote combo, or an underperforming combo like this. I think that balances out the cards a little better, in my opinion, instead of just making everything the best trigger. Or in a lot of older sets, they would like make the clearly best combo, put it on the best trigger, and then you'd have some low rarity cards that might have been kind of interesting for the time, maybe, but they also have them on a terrible trigger, and then it's very discouraging at that point.
True.
It's probably not good design in terms of marketing your cards, I guess, because it doesn't make people want to go after your expensive cards, but that doesn't matter in this case because this is a custom set. So I like that it has a design philosophy that I would personally agree with in terms of balance, to adjust the combo depending on the trigger as well.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
The reason for that meme is you're seeing other closure cards later. When you go to the shop in the game, you see closure.
Yeah, she's basically our from Girls Frontline. She's like the Kalina character, except that unlike the shop girl in Girls Frontline, she actually has like a lot going on as an actual character. You see her show up in other operators' profiles, and also because she's like the head engineer, she has kind of a whole group of units, which we'll talk about later, which she actually is directly involved in. That actually might be the best place for her, is working together with the sort of robot package that's in this set, kind of setting that up. What you do is like your end game for that beyond that package, I'd have to get back to you. I do know that back when Escanor was in this set, one of the custom set people in the Discord absolutely broke that card. I don't think they used Closure to do it though, but I feel like this would have been just as at home with that. But yeah, the stock obsession for being the actual shopkeeper, 100% crucial to all of these designs for her. Moving on from Closure back to the Horse Girls. This is Margaret Neural on duty. When your climax is placed in your climax area, she gets 1500 power till end of turn. And when her opponent is reversed, if there's a climax in your climax area, you blind stock. I feel like Schwartz's symbol says it on, but if you've got any more commentary, feel free to add it.
Nope.
She just is.
Yeah, it's just a very standard profile that it's a very standard profile you want to have in a modern set, pretty much. Just the stalker with a climax.
Yeah. Even with the change I'm going to be making to the other primary level 1 that you'd be running in the Neural Sisters setup, she's still just kind of a workaday combo. Yeah, there really is not much more to say. On to a more interesting card. This is Platinum, the last of her rank. I like that soundboard effect. When she is put into your winning room from the stage, look up the 4 cards from the top of your deck, choose a yellow climax, specifically yellow climax from among them, reveal it to the opponent, put it into your hand, put the rest into your waiting room, and if you grabbed a climax, you gotta throw a card away. That's just the breaks. The way you get her into waiting room is use this act effect, which the cost is, sacrifice her, to give one of your trade characters 2,000 power. Schwartz, how do you feel about this self-sacrificial business's Platinum?
What?
Does this card strike you as a negative flavor?
Yeah. I don't remember anything related to that. Well, except for the fact that in the flavored X, she says die. That's it.
I think the reason that I gave her this profile was thinking that she is working herself to the bone for these people, and so that might be part of it. But
It's not negative flavor. At least I think.
I do like this art for sure, just like the little swoosh. And then for the card itself, Sparrow, I think you have a bit of an anecdote about this actually.
I mean, I don't know if I want to go into the entire history of this, but I didn't know that this was a real card. Apparently, this is a real profile that exists, and that took me by surprise the first time I looked at this, because I was going to go on a tangent about how it's the most insane thing I've read in my life, that you get to just activate this immediately by just sacrificing itself. But I guess it's a real card, so and it wasn't even good enough for me to know about it. So I know, like, back in the day, the first effect on its own was like RR worthy, and like in Konosuba, and people were like, how could they ever print something this broken? It lets you grab climaxes, and then now seeing this, and it's apparently fine to the point where I don't even know about it, at least before looking at this card earlier. It creates a lot of whiplash in my brain. But after rationalizing it, I think this is just a really, really good card for any yellow deck you want to play. And that's about it.
So this profile came straight out of the Data Bullet Karumi 8 choice deck. That might be why you never heard of it, because I don't think 8 choice Karumi specifically really made like the biggest splash, which is really sad because I got that deck fairly recently in paper, just because I actually watched the show and was like, oh, Karumi's like maybe #1 waifu in the show about waifus. But yeah, no, this card is absolutely ridiculous. The major problem I was having testing the yellow decks was that I just couldn't get the climaxes in my hand. And then this card just exists. It's like, oh, this seems really good for a set of triggers that can't add themselves to your hand with any consistency, like bar or pants or the thing that door now is doing, where it has guys just like, hey, yeah, add the door to your hand. Just like, go salvage it. It's like a drop search for your or drop salvage for your climax. It'll be fine. At least limited to level 2.
Yeah, I guess they always do it with Door for some reason.
I hope they never give it to standby, because that would just be the steps too far. I think that's their balancing factor for Door, is that the salvage character trigger gets to also have characters that salvage it back in a sort of symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, I think in theory you can put that effect on anything, and it's the same. Like, I've done it. I made one that grabs shots in my most recent set, but that set has only one shot anyway, so it's effectively just like search one specific climax. So it's whatever.
Barring stuff like that, this card just is good. I love it. On to the next one. Here we have Closure, the Information World Destroyer. And how she destroys the Information World is through this first effect. All of your trade characters from front of this card get plus 2,000 power and hexproof. And also, she is a stock healer. So Schwartz, would you say that this qualifies as world destroying?
Not sure about that, but unrelated thing. Fun fact: Closure is a vampire, but if I recall correctly, she loves machine oil more than blood. And there's actually other vampire characters that do relate to blood.
Yeah, she is. She is called out as a weirdo by another prominent vampire character because she is so machine oriented. Yeah, she's such a weirdo. We love Closure in this household. She's just so weird. And then for the actual quality of the card itself,
I am not a fan of just super easy hexproof like this. That's completely generic, as I said before. And I remember last time I said that it's fine, that this card was fine. But now that I thought about it a little more, like, I don't know, you probably play one copy of this like in every single deck that can fix for yellow. Just in case you like wanna go into your Finster turn, you can just play this down and then you protect half your board from hexproof. It's nowhere near as broken as some other hexproof packages we've seen recently, but it still gets the job done. And no, and you know, and I know this set has standby, so this as a standby target, pretty strong, as your main. I don't know what other like as back row level threes the set has, but this seems like a pretty good candidate.
yeah, I main like one of the decks that I mained with this set was a gate standby build, and for some reason I just never thought of putting this card in it, despite the fact that this is as far as I remember, this is the only 2K assist outside of maybe a level 3 assist. There's a level 3 assist in yellow actually, but this is the only like 2K assist in this set. The fact that it's for like universal, and the fact that it's hexproof on top of it. But on the other hand, if this is your standby target, this is the thing TM that it's doing for you, which is like I think it's a pretty decent trade.
Good
All
enough,
things
usually.
considered.
I mean, the baseline for standby is big guy and guy that makes your big guys bigger. That's this basic standby thing you want to do. Like, if you remove all of the individual quirks of every standby deck, that's what it's aiming for. This bare minimum fulfills the second role and then some by having the extra hex proof that can be potentially very annoying because it's generically applied to half your board, especially if there are no other like alternatives for guy that buffs your big guys. I think there is no reason to not run a couple of these in a standby deck.
Makes sense. We'll adjust in the future accordingly.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
This is a little bit tangent, but so Closure is a hacker, right? But I remember a moment in the main story where she gets hacked by her friend, I think. So she gets information destroyed. The details of it is a spoiler.
Yeah. Yeah, the does happen in the fairly recent chapter of the main story, at least for the global server. I think we're getting a new chapter released pretty soon, actually. But yeah, the nickname Information World Destroyer comes up in like a operator record, like a special cutscene thing you get after building that operator up to not quite max level and stuff. But yeah, she absolutely does actually just get hacked in the story as well. Which is like, maybe you're not as
She's also not playable yet,
yet.
by the way.
We'll get her soon. They have to eventually, right? We can only hope. All right. Speaking of hope, maybe not. Next card. This is Maria Neural, a Night Spirit. When she's placed on stage from your hand, reveal top card. If it's a trade character, choose a card, add it to your hand, and then pitch a card as trade. And then she is on death, pay 2, search your deck for a trade character to replace herself with.
I got nothing much to add, mainly just the effects that carry this.
Sparrow has marked it as a plus, which
This profile is the same as Ina from the premium booster of Online, and that card never saw play, but I always thought it was a very neat combination of effects. I feel like in any set that's like older than this modern sort of, I guess, post Hololive era, this would probably have been like a very good card in whatever set it was in. I think there is a lot of just nice utility here. And the second effect especially is like I think it's a lot stronger than it's often given credit for, because pay 2 is not that bad when it's on death, because you get to attack and then you have the stock if you need it. I'm just giving it the plus because it could have had its time as a profile, but it really is a little too late.
In a set that isn't as crazy as Hololive, this absolutely can do something. The only reason it's here is because the Ina premium card was like the only unique card that Ina had, and I am a major like Hololive simp in general, but at the time like Ina was like super top of the list, so I threw into the set hoping it would be playable, and at least for now, it absolutely is something that you'd see at least a couple of copies of in a deck. But yeah, she's absolutely just here because of the waifu.
I can respect that Ina is my favorite Hololive member. Actually, yeah. I say, when I said Luna the other time, Luna is specifically JP Hololive. If we talk about Hololive in general, it's Ina definitely.
Right on.
Simping aside.
Simping aside, or maybe back to simping. This is Closure again. This time she is making it rain. Look at all those blue dollar bills.
Sorry, I can't give credit. Come back when you're a little richer.
Damn it, Moshu.
I needed to finish
This is
from
the
earlier.
second quote we've gotten.
Yeah, got 2 for 2 on the line. Do you want to?
We need to make like 3 or 4 extra, and then we can make a compilation video to farm the algorithm.
Oh my god.
A what?
Compilation video of Moshu
Compilation.
quotes?
Every time a Moshu quote was said in the set review.
Oh my god. Alright. Schwartz, do you want to read this one?
I'll try. Put 2 characters from your hand to your waiting room, operator or support. When this card is placed, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at 2 card top of your deck, choose a card, put your hand, and put the rest to your stock in any order. I know you got the money and stock thing going on. I'll just give it plus.
Okay, this is a profile that they have made a couple of times. Usually it's not, I don't think it has seen any play, but it's very similar to the hand to stock profile in what its role would be in a deck, where basically you have this super optimized like modern deck that can plus like crazy. They play like a card like this to convert all of the excess plusing into something else, which is what you see with the hand to stock profiles in a lot of sets. And I think this has the potential to be the same thing maybe in the future. Maybe we're not quite there yet in terms of power level. But yeah, this is like individually too much commitment for usually not that much of a payoff. But I think it has a niche, especially moving forward, depending on where the game goes, I guess.
Yeah, for me, this card kicks absolute ass because I'm the kind of guy who will absolutely just throw my entire board out the first turn if it means that I can also, by chance, brainstorm in the process. Uh, so when I look at this card, what I see it as put the spare level 3 and whatever back in the graveyard where they need to be to give myself fuel for my brainstorm, and maybe, if I'm lucky, climax. For the 2 soul Maria Neural combo in this set, that play alone would probably be in like my top 5
Yeah,
early play shenanigans.
that's the main reason I think to choose this over a hand to stock is the potential chance to get a climax out of it. Yeah, it's just a very niche sort of utility effect.
To each their own. Speaking of to each their own, this is Margaret Neural, the Light Bearer. During your turn, all of your other trade characters get 1,000 power, and you can pay 1, pitch 1, rest this, look up to 3, choose a card, add it. Yeah, this is a card. There's not a particular flavor significance. Doesn't seem like Schwartz has found any either.
Nah.
As far as level 1 back rows go, 1-0 specifically, I've seen worse get played, to be honest, but it was also a different time. This is not that bad. as far as those. It's probably a much better option. I mean, I guess it depends. If your deck has like the room, the back row space to play this instead of anything else, this is potentially really, really strong because it can just dig for climax every turn. I think it's definitely a card to consider. Yeah, I don't know how powerful it is overall in the context of the set, like what other backers you might want to play and stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
Uh,
I think you can
but
make
I don't know.
yellow work as a splash enough that you could probably just kind of throw this wherever you feel like. If there was another, if it weren't for the
I
fact that that
think
platinum exists for yellow, and the other colors have kind of other ways to solve their climax issue. As it is, it's kind of just like a profile that I found. Originally, this was actually going to be some kind of like helmet, and then I decided not to do that.
Yeah, actually, I think the main place I would see this get played because I remember back in the day there was this logic. Okay, you're playing a very simple deck that just does a classic Wise thing. It just goes, okay, I'm gonna play a combo at level one, attack, get my plus, then keep just making very simple standard plays throughout the game and then play my simple standard good finisher. And I'm not trying to do anything crazy. I'm just trying to play a normal game of Wise. And and just try to be as good at that normal game of Wise as possible. Like in decks like that, I think those decks would gladly play this as their second back row because it's like it just helps you be an average Wise deck that does nothing out of the ordinary a lot easier just by giving you more chances to get climaxes to keep doing your simple average combos. And we've seen some pretty neat sort of good simple average combos like in some of the previous slides already. So I think there's probably like a nice simple deck that can utilize this somewhere in this set.
Yeah, that's fair. Even like within Closure Platinum, that makes sense. I'm still not gonna go over the moon for this card. I do some level wish I had found something a little bit more fitting.
After talking about it, honestly, I'm even gonna give it like a B minus. I think it's one of those cards that I feel like it will always be extremely good, but it will be outclassed by something else inevitably by the way most people want to build their sets where they want to give like, oh, here's my insane awesome back row or whatever. So a simple utility back row like this will not find a place usually, but like as far as those go, I think this is pretty good. Solves a big problem a lot of simple decks have.
Fair, definitely fair. Maybe a slightly less fair card. We'll see. This is Platinum on the Coral Coast. She is a card with a on-play experience condition. If you have a Kazimier's character in your level, you can pitch a card for top check 4 out of level 1 or higher. AKA Subaru from set 1 Hololive. Instead of a blue card, you need a specific trait. Schwartz, do you see any particular flavor in this? I think the old version might have been slightly more flavorful.
The text, I don't see anything, but the art is exactly the skin.
God, Arknights does not do like over the top swimsuit skins. They just go for like tasteful and good, at least for sure for like the early package. And yeah, this is oh.
It's less horny.
I can't. I was a fanfic writer. I still am a fanfic writer. Less horny isn't an option. Anyway, we're just gonna have to live with that on this channel. Spyro, what about the profile itself?
It's just very strong. It's Azusa with that's something they do a lot recently where it's like Azusa, but they gave it a weird condition, and this is just more of that. It's potentially a little less awkward depending on what deck you play, because a lot of these are yellow characters, I think. It doesn't have the same awkwardness as Subaru or having a resonate in your hand or needing a card in your memory, which are all the things that they do for this. In general, it does the thing, so it's good.
The worst deck concession you might have to make, if you're not playing any of the Neural Sister combos or the Platinum combo, is maybe you just have to run a playset of this and then either the other Coral Coast card, which originally the way this card worked was that it was specifically tied to the Margaret Neural on Coral Coast, and I think it gave on play some power to itself as a trade-off. Once I realized that was not like an equivalent condition, which is why the level exchange swap card was a level swap, was to make that process easier. And now that that's not true, this is just like a good, pretty easily splashable card. There is one
Yeah.
blue character that also is this trait, so like you can actually still do the Subaru blue card and level turns on your yellow character if you want to.
This is the only thing that's potentially maybe too strong about this is that it's a much easier sort of condition depending on how you build your deck. But I don't know, it's probably fine. I think they printed just actual Azusa Freyren, so
Yeah, Azusa has made her return.
yeah, well, that one's a level 0, I guess, so it doesn't have the body factor to it. But I mean, I guess it means that they are considering that to not be as insane anymore, which is once again crazy to me. But it is what it is. It's still a very good card.
I just remembered something about this skin
Mhm.
in the actual game. I think a while ago there was an actual bug where if you equip the skin, she performs slightly worse
What?
when skins aren't meant to do anything performance-wise.
Oh man, are you serious? Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, it's an actual thing. I hope that it's fixed now.
I'm gonna have to look into that because I'm pretty
But
sure this is
I
my.
found out a while ago. Yeah.
That's wild. That troubling news aside, let's let's look at another platinum card. This is platinum asking for a date. She's got tickets to the amusement park in her hand, ready for you to go, Doctor. During your turn, this card gets 500 power for each of your other triggered characters, and when your character's trigger check reveals a yellow climax, pay 1, choose a trade character in your waiting room, return it to your hand. Are you aware of this interaction in her operator record, Schwartz?
No, this looks fanfic to me.
This is, I can promise you, this is legitimately a thing she says. Maybe not in like the super romantic blushy way that this card is, but is an interaction that happens in her operator record. I read a lot of those for fanfic. Does not come up when you're using her as a unit though. I like it mostly because of that. As for the actual profile,
It's just a very confused card. Well, that's what I have to say. Like, I don't even know what to give this.
Oh, you're
Like,
right. What the?
Like, it doesn't know. Like, the first effect implies that you put this in the front row and attack with it, but then the second effect is something you want to sit in the back and get the value throughout the game. And it's not even a situation where they've had stuff like this before. They had the Roxy in Musoku that's also like a bitter with an effect similar to this to clear climaxes. But that one was a 1-0, so you didn't feel that bad to just play it down as an attacker. This is a 1-1, so you're committing something. So I don't know, it's very weird. Like maybe you can justify this in standby, some of this turn one with a standby, and then it helps you clear standbys immediately or whatever. There's probably better things to do with your standbys than that.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is yeah, I guess it's bad technically, but it doesn't feel like it's bad because of a misunderstanding or whatever. It just feels like it's really confused. It's like it's almost like it was made while someone was drunk. I don't know how else to put it because the components of the cards just don't mesh together.
I was gonna give a plus because I do love the flavor for this, and as Schwartz proved, this is canon. You can't tell me it's not, haters. But then I remembered, I actually did change this. Instead of a 4500 with that mixed effect, she is down to 4k flat, but she's 1k to those traits during your turn. So she is like a cemented back row card instead of a front row card.
I genuinely didn't know.
Yeah, that's her if you pull multiple.
I read her file before.
Because it's actually in her her upgrade token rather than her profile proper, that might actually have been the trick. But yeah, so I have to mark this down because I literally did change it in the most recent version. So unfortunate. still, look at her. Look at her being all cute and stuff. It's fine. We take that trade off. A card that we don't have to take a trade off. Ow. Why am I saying ow? I'm a Takodachi. I'm immune to the bonk. Anyway. For a card that we don't have to take any trade offs for, this is Closure, the Procurement Pusher. Continuous, if you have 4 or more traded characters, she gets 6k, so she sits at 10k as long as you have a full board of trade. When this card is placed on your stage from your hand, if you have 2 or more traded characters, draw 2, pitch 2 if you do, and then if you have 4 or more when she's played, you get a stock refund by taking a trade character from your waiting room, putting it into your stock. Schwartz, do you feel like this effect is fitting of someone running a market?
Yeah.
Yeah. As for the actual profile,
This is Yuri Alpha, I think, from Overlord. This profile is just funny to me because it's the first time in a long time where you have a 2-1. People just are willing to play down for the sake of the 2-1 itself. That's just funny to me because,
What now?
usually because 2-1s are a bit hard to make people wanna run just like for their own good. It's usually okay, it's either a tech card or an assist or a standby target or whatever. But this apparently, as far as Overlord is concerned, apparently this profile is good enough to where you can just run a 2-1 and play it down as a 2-1 at level 2 and attack with it. I don't know. That's it's funny. I guess it makes me happy that we have something that can do this after all this time. It makes me sad because we've gotten to the point where this is how much your 2-1 needs to do to be worth playing for its own merit. I don't know, it's just a roller coaster of emotions from this profile. And it's perfectly fine, I guess.
yeah, they put this specific profile in a yellow in DAL 2, and that's where I got it for sure. I have a kind of a mid relationship with this card just because I'm never thinking of it as like a card. I know that it has text on it, but whenever I'm thinking about putting it in a deck or anything, it's like I'm reading like a blank piece of paper, and I have no idea why.
I mean, yeah, it's not amazing or anything. It's just does enough to where people are like, yeah, I don't feel bad about playing this. I'm perfectly fine about the prospect of just playing this down at level 2 as a card that exists. I don't know, just it's weird. It's interesting. I don't know. Apparently, this exact combination is what it took for that to happen.
Yeah. Moving swiftly along. This is Platinum again. She's taking a break. We've been working out. When this places on your stage from your hand, choose a card in your clock, turn to your hand. If you do, choose a card in your hand, put it back into your clock. At the beginning of your attack phase, if there's a character facing it, you can move it to an open position of your center stage. Center runner plus some clock fixing. Schwartz, do you see any particular flavor in this card?
Not on the card. No, it does remind me. There's a platinum name that reminds me of.
Let's show the audience the platinum meme. This is actually taken from a real life event that occurred. A platinum cosplayer was doing the exercise that this poor girl has shown and did exactly this. She rolled too far and just flat on her face, which is exactly something that platinum would do. This poor girl. But yeah, this art is her recovering from that. I'm absolutely certain. Card itself. My locals would run this just because it gets climaxes out of their clock. Like it.
Yeah, that's the thing. This I was quote unquote forced to play this because I want to try the Tokyo Revengers build that has 28 choice triggers. Back when that came out, that was like a unique idea. I know they power crept the idea like 3 times by now. Back then it was like a first time we've ever seen something like that. And one of the targets was exactly this profile. And I thought it was going to be just okay, it's another card we have to run for the choice triggers, but it actually surprised me how strong this is. Like, it's deceptively powerful just because you can grab climaxes out of your clock and stuff and just swap them with anything else. You don't have any restrictions on what you swap. And also, just the fact that it's also randomly a runner on top of everything. So sometimes it can plus you if you go first. It performed a lot better than I thought it would, especially in Tokyo Revengers where you can keep punching yourself forever at level 0. I had a game where I started punching myself in order to get a climax into my clock with all of the clocking effects, so that I can then add it to my hand with this, which is that's crazy. That's Tokyo Revengers Gaming.
By the way, I forgot this.
Yeah, what is that cue?
I'll tell you if you can't figure it out by now.
Fine. Yeah, that the idea of like intentionally just using all of your self-hurt resources just to get a climax to your zone so that this can just kind of yoink as a form of climax assurance is insane, but it's absolutely something that this card promotes, and I don't think that this set specifically can do. It's fun that Tokyo Revengers
Yeah, I
done
don't
that.
know. It's whatever. Like, I don't think this is something your average sane set wants to do. It's just that Tokyo Adventure specifically is such a fever dream of a set that lines of play like that are perfectly valid. Like I said it before, I was about to quit Weiss because it was getting too bland for me. And then Tokyo Revengers came out like the same week I was going to quit. I started reading the cards and I was like, wait, they're cooking something here. This is what I was missing in my life.
That's how they get you.
That is how the cardboard crack gets you back from your relapse. I'm glad it did though.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely. I wouldn't even. This was before my first set. I think when that happened, we would literally have none of this without that because I know I've been helping a lot of people with their sets.
Thank you, Tokyo Revengers. This profile, you get a plus for that reason. Also, the fact that it's platinum in a workout
Wow.
uniform. Anyway, next meme. Next card. This is platinum. She's following orders. This is going to kill me. She's a 500 assist and also pay to rest to search for a traded character. Is there a flavor component to this, Schwartz?
No.
Cool.
It's like it's fine. It's a pretty outdated sort of profile, but it exists. You know, I was pretty harsh on it the last time we tried this, but now that I thought about like the cards a little more, I think this might actually have a place in a deck with the closure combo. It might have a place as like something to do with your extra stock in that deck. You know, maybe there's something there. Sadly, that also means we don't get to run the 1-0 really cool back row, but you know,
Like I can see this even as just like a one or two of as like a bridge into that, right? The 1-0 doesn't have a trigger, so it's not like you can choice it. So just having that little bit of extra assurance.
I guess, yeah. I mean, at that point, it's more of a tech to grab your climax. It's not like an actual back row that you're using to ensure you're having a combo return, which is what I was thinking
That too.
about the 1-0. But it's definitely good to have one of it, I guess. I mean, unless you wanna, I feel like you would wanna have a brainstorm regardless. I don't think you're gonna give up brainstorm for these two. Maybe you would in practice, but I really doubt it.
There's absolutely some cooking that could be done there. Just like
Yeah, like maybe there's something with this specifically because we were talking about needing a stock payoff.
that's something to look into. I'll think about that. Yeah, I didn't have anything particular for this card. It was just kind of I needed cards to fill out the set. That this could still see some use though, so that's neat. What's not going to see use, at least in this current form, is this Margaret Neural. If you don't have any other characters in your center stage, she gets 1500 power.
Best card.
this
Yeah,
this card's whatever on
is-
several grounds.
it's sometimes possible, like in certain sets, but depending on what they have. But this set has a power crept version of this coming up in a bit, so there's literally nothing.
This gets the minus because it's getting reformed. It's absolutely getting a different flavor. I think I've already decided what that is. But obviously, because I haven't finalized those changes, if anyone comes up with something more interesting, throw it in the comments.
Leave it like a actual filler card.
If you want like the sort of idea of it being a no characters sort of card, there is a profile from Zobeland Saga that I really like because it was like a low rarity class in zero. it had like this condition. It was the even the worst one, the one that's like if it's your only character,
Oh wow.
it gets 2000, and then but it was also a chaser on top of that. It was if she's alone, she was 4K chaser, and it was like an uncommon or something. It was like a pretty affordable sort of strong card to play on a budget. I thought that was pretty neat, a pretty good option to have in your set because at least personally, I like to build my sets with hypothetical budget players in mind.
Yeah.
Maybe that's crazy. Maybe that's a little deranged to some of you. I don't know. I like doing that. I don't know. I don't like to just. I want
Deranged.
all of my cards to have some sort of theoretical purpose, or at least something funny that they do. Not a fun of sets that like force you to play an RR. That if you don't play it, like the entire set just doesn't function at all. Yeah, that's just how I build my sets. So with that in mind, I would probably look for a profile like that to give something like this, like just like a strong budget alternative classing profile or whatever.
Definitely something to figure out so this card can have a purpose. A card that we don't have to figure out a purpose for because it's pretty set on the card is Closure, making an impossible offer. Look at all of that gotcha currency she's holding on to. Yes, Aspera has pointed out this is the elite profile. This is 3500 that gives all of your opponent's characters Encore 2, but she's also a drop search. Aspera pointed out this is TD Miko. How do you feel about
Yeah.
TD Miko?
It's a really strong card. It was game warpingly powerful when it was revealed, but somehow in those few years the game progressed in such a way where this is just fine. We will talk about this more when we look at the next card because it occupies the same concept that I want to explain about these. But basically, back in the day, okay, so the role cards like this play has been sort of reversed in the past few years. Like back in the day, it was like I have a Blasting Zero 35 bidder that I can play as my main Blasting Zero. So if having to play something that only does that. But I also get to have a good utility effect on top of that. Miko was so powerful because the good utility effect was a pretty good one. It was a drop search. People played vanilla drop searches sometimes. But what happened the last 2 years is that at some point we transitioned from, oh wow, this is a Blasting Zero I can play that also has some utility. We transitioned to this utility card happens to be a Blasting Zero sometimes. So, it's still good, but now the logic is reversed. Now the logic is I'm playing this because I want the utility, and sometimes it's a Blasting Zero, and that's just shows the sort of power creep of how people view cards like this.
I mean, there have absolutely been moments playing like TD Miko and stuff where it's just like I need a drop search in this deck, and it's nice she's 3500. I definitely see that
Yeah,
angle for
yeah,
sure.
that's the logic now. But like once it was released, the logic was I can play 4 Mikos in my deck, and then I don't need to play like a 4K or a runner or something that would only be for a Blasting Zero. It was more about okay, now I can use the same slot to get more value out of the slot. Whereas now it's like, okay, in my ever expanding pool of utility cards, I can also have this one that will sometimes be my Blasting Zero if I ever need it, because a lot of decks these days not even go for that. They just play a bunch of utility and stick with that. Yeah, it's just the logic that has changed. And I don't know, I think it's very interesting. Maybe again a little sad depending on what you think about it from a game perspective. Power creep.
Yeah, Weiss Power Creep.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the case with the next card as well. It's the exact same philosophy. It's just a less powerful secondary effect, but you apply the exact same philosophy with this as well.
Yeah.
It's like back in the day, you would play 4 of this, and you'll be like, "Yes, I have my awesome Blasting Zero," and then sometimes it does an extra cool thing. Now it's like, I need the extra cool thing, so I play this, and
Oh my god.
it happens to have the Blasting Zero effect. And as I pointed out the last time, I have One minor nitpick I have is that both of these have the exact same downside. I would like to see one of them get a different downside, just for variety's sake.
Yeah. So like this current one, the reason I'm giving it a minus because I did find a different downside, and one that I think actually fits the flavor better. There is a few cards that have this, but it's that she doesn't restand if your opponent has 3 or more climaxes in a waiting room.
I know there is on play, like on play, if your opponent has 3 or more climaxes, you rest the card. I don't think it's every turn. I have to find the card, but there is like literally a better version of that downside.
The concept behind it definitely fits the self restraint better than just giving your opponents encore. I think we are talking about the same thing.
Yeah, I thought you said. Yeah, I thought you said like at the beginning of your turn you don't stand.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's not that crazy.
I don't know exactly what you're going for, but when I think like the sort of defensive stance also made me think of a different downside where your opponent can pay 2 to prevent the character from attacking.
There's an
And I'm
Ayame
getting
that
one
got
right
that
now.
set 1 haul that I just remember people being like, bruh. Which, I mean, at least with like a hand to stock, maybe that's like a thing you consider. I think I did actually use that drawback somewhere else in the reworks, because definitely been some multiple areas this needed reworks.
Whatever, just some kind of different downside.
Yeah,
Just
has been done.
for some variety.
And speaking of things that have been done, this next card, everyone knows what this is. This is a classic
This
profile.
is memory. Yeah, memory kick.
Memory kick.
B for backup.
Yeah, it's a card you play. Her being memory doesn't have any particular flavor or anything. It is a card that exists. The one thing that I want to say about this card is that her flavor text is straight from her shop dialogue, and it makes me have feelings. The saddest thing in life is that you're right in front of me, but I can't afford to buy you. I'm a very easy man. Other than that, she's here. And I should stop printing memory backups in Arknights. Set 1 has one. We don't need more. Gotta remember that. Moving along. Maria Neural, Surging Brilliance. She is a level 3 assist that also has on play if you have 2 or more trade characters, draw 2, pitch 2. There's nothing particular flavor, and I don't like this card. And so I've made an executive decision to find another thing for it to do.
Yeah, it's just an assist. Yeah, it's just very simple assist. If you don't have anything better, maybe you play this.
And the issue is though, like, we know we do because we saw the other cards in yellow, for a budget
Yeah.
player, but I still want to give a budget player something a little bit more.
I mean, it's
So
fine. It's fine. Well, we didn't see anything like that. Right? This is not categorically worse than the one with the hexproof because it's level 2. So again, this is more of a if you're playing a very basic, simple West deck that is a very simple thing. This may be like a fine card to play as just one or two of that you just get out if you think the opponent has something you wanna protect against, I guess. But it's not super notable by any means. If you told me this was like a trial deck assist, I would say yeah, that definitely checks out. The only weird thing would be that it's level 3 or higher. Trial deck assists usually have the level assist version, but
yeah, this art is just really good. I like this art a lot. We're giving you better. And then last character of yellow. This card is goofy. This is Margaret Neural, returning hero. This is an artist depiction of her being back to kick some ass in her hometown after being away for a while. When she attacks, this card gets plus X power till end of turn, where X is the number of characters your opponent has times 1,000, so she get big. And then when she attacks, if you have 4 more other trade characters, choose one of your characters, that character gets plus 2 soul. I see flavor in it. Schwartz, do you see particular flavor in it?
I don't see it, but I will be generous anyway.
To merit that plus, what this is representative of, in my opinion, is the moment where she shows up at the end of the first neural event, and her showing up is like a godsend. Like, she comes in, she beats back the guys who are about to literally just kill her sister in the arena. It gives her sister like the little pick me up. It's like, hey, I am here. We can do this together. All kitted out and ready to go. And then the crowd is like, yeah, look at that, she's back. But also there's a certain level of like, oh my god, wait, it's her again. I thought we kicked her out for being like infected and shit, which is a whole can of worms. There is flavor to this. However, as Spyro has observed in his comment, this could not have gotten a take with Escanor.
This card is fine. I haven't played a similar. The second effect was the same in Bofuri, where you would use it with the Ristander to modulate damage, go for those big brain finisher plays, try to hit them for exact numbers. The fact this at some point was in the same set as an Escanor, that shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah. This actually, when I was reviewing the set for this presentation again, I realized this actually does have a use, like as we're talking about with the splashability of colors. There is a blue combo that actually could make use of this card. That isn't as insane as Escanor or anything. But other than that, it's an interesting profile. It definitely is not as ridiculous as it would have been in the original version of the set. But it still has a place.
Yeah, like if you don't have exactly Escanor, this is just a very nice effect that you can use sometimes to do some weird plays, mainly side attacking to avoid counters. But this set doesn't really care about that because it has a bunch of ways to get hexproof. But other than that, it's cool for doing old school standard plays where you swing for specific numbers, like I explained with Buffering. And that's about it. I don't know what the blue card you're talking about does, but we'll see about that.
Yep, we'll get to it. All right, let's cover the events. This is a Neural family photo. Look at all of them being so cute. These two, don't worry about them. The top two you'll see in set 2. The text is actually kind of obscuring the main 2 that appear in the set. Don't worry about it. As for the actual event, it's a 1-1. If you don't have a Casimir's trade character, you can't play it. It is a traded search, and then after you finish the search, you put in memory, and you can get it back to your hand by pitching a climax. I don't know how well this works for flavor outside of it just being like a cute picture. Schwartz, do you have a way in on it?
I have one question.
Mhm.
Is Uncle Neural going to be in future volumes?
We do get to
Because he's
see.
missing here.
We get to see Moinar and Zofia in set 2. They are here, and they are.
Oh yeah.
They are basically like playing a part in the Neurofamily Casimir's trait package. They're actually funny that you reminded me of that. The reason all these cards have Casimir's trait is because for when I originally did this, they didn't, and then I started making I made set 2, and then I realized, oh god, these cards really just need to have Casimir's trait. I mean, I was already doing like Acahuela and a couple of other like regional trait with other sets and stuff, so I was like, I need to fix this. So definitely very significant of a change. As for the profile itself, this exists in Saikano. I don't know if you have any experience with that card specifically, Spyro, but how do you like it?
I have experience with a similar card, which is the I Remember You event from Adventure Time.
Oh yeah, that one.
That one has it's a salvage instead of a search, and it doesn't have the character condition. But it's the same card besides that. And that card just always just feels good. I don't think it's like super broken. It just always feels very good because of the memory effect. It just gets you out of all of your worse Weiss source related nightmares. Like when you log a climax and draw 2 climaxes. This is there and it just feels good that it can get you out of that situation immediately.
Absolutely. That is why I put this profile in at some level. It was just me getting sick of getting swamped with climaxes. The other thing about this is that this memory condition does have, not for actually like Kazimuro's deck anything necessarily, but memory does have a play in another deck. And you put that together with a bunch of like the event support that we'll see, not necessarily in this or the next, or it might just primarily be blue that we see the real bulk of the generic event support. I feel like there is enough in this miasma of cards to put together a deck and the C play. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely would prefer to play this in something with bar or pants because those get in your hand a lot more often.
All right, last card in yellow coming up. This is a family matter. 2-1 with counter. If you don't have a character with a knurl in its card name, this card cannot be played from your hand. And as a counter, choose one of your characters in battle, return your hand, choose a character in your center stage, move it to the stage position that character in battle was. It becomes the defending character. That character gets 1500 until end of turn. Schwartz, do you want to go a little deeper on why this is such a good fit for them?
Yeah, I think it fits. Don't know how specifically, but yeah.
This set actually does a lot of things with the counter step, at least specifically in blue. And there's a lot of things about, like messing with backups or like defending character in some way. The fact that this specific effect belongs to the family, which in this set is specifically just the defenders. Yeah, the fact that it's just like, no, I'm getting in the way, and then you just have I can just see it like Maria like going to take a shot from Margaret, and then Margaret just like, no, I'm protecting you, and then trying to get, and it's like this infinite like conga line, right, of the just two of them getting in front of each other trying to take the shot. Anyway, I like it. I think that it is very flavorful in that sense. And this is real. This is not something I made up. It's a Madoka event with a condition added to give it some power.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say, I don't know, this is a really confusing combination of things that is happening. But yeah, that seems fair then. Sometimes with events, you just kinda do what you want. I've done this in the past because events are weird in general and how they're budgeted.
Yeah.
But if this is basically a real effect, then it's probably fine. Like, I don't know, this maybe you play this, maybe you don't. I don't know if there's anything specific you were trying to protect, or like what you wanna specifically move. I know it's definitely a card.
Yeah, that specific target may be a thing it runs into some issues with. I'm not entirely sure yet either.
Yeah, like the name restriction definitely probably limits what can be done with this more than anything.
In this set, it's like it needs to be played with some amount of yellow. In future sets, it's still very much a yellow card, but there's a little bit more leeway. Yeah, it's fair. It might just not have like any particularly good targets at the moment, so had not quite considered that. We'll look into that. But yeah, that is the last card for yellow. Do we have any particular thoughts about yellow as a whole? What we have seen so far, or anything that we want to see that we haven't seen yet?
I don't have anything specific. I'm just like, okay, maybe I want to see if there's a deck that can maybe run the 1-0 background because that seemed kind of cool as like a simple deck.
I would now explain this.
Yes, please.
It's from the sound effect of Platinum's skill activation.
Oh, I see. See, I don't play with the sound on most of the time because I play on my phone, not through like Google services or anything. If I leave my phone on silent, it doesn't play the audio. And I ain't gonna lie, as much as I like Platinum, I don't use her very often because I have another sniper that we will see later. To just fill in the role most of the time, if I'm not using like a caster squad. I appreciate the reminder on that, though. That was very important information that I just blanked on. Okay. All right, well, folks, that's all for now. We'll be back shortly with Green. Hope to see you there.